Hey guys, how you guys doing? Welcome to Table Talk with our good friend.
D.W. McCann, the Bard in the Deck.
Oh man, I
Hey
actually
guys,
can't
how
believe
you guys
that
doing?
worked. Welcome to Table
And
Talk.
I gotta
with
do a
our
little
good
thing
friend.
real quick.
D.W. McCann, the Bard.
Yeah, I had the live stream going on the transmitter.
That's all right.
my
We're
God.
live streaming. It's
Yeah.
all live. All of the mistakes we normally make when we can go around them or edit around them. Not today.
Yeah, it's not like we can look at each other going, fix it in post. No, you guys are here.
Oh, we can say that.
Oh yeah. No, we can totally say that. And for those of you guys that are just tuning in, I am Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer, and I am here with.
D.W. McCann, the Bard in the Deck.
That's right. And well, we're doing table talk today, and that means we sit around a table and we talk primarily about games and the stuff that we've been doing this week. Now, I know there's a lot of people out that have been talking about man, you got the website going, you got the YouTube stream going, but what about the other nerd stuff, and where are your people of color at? And that's what I'm asking. Where are all my people of color and my women and my LGBTQ and the other letters that I just can't remember right now, and my disabled and the rural poor? I want to hit everybody. But right now we're getting support from the people that we're getting support from, and I appreciate that greatly. But I am going to say that if you like the shows, help all the channels grow. Now that I'm done with all that stuff. Oh yeah, since we are on YouTube Live, I have to do the thing that all the YouTube things have been doing. So please like, subscribe, and share. And when you subscribe, push the little notification button to make sure that you're notified every time we put out a live cast.
So do you actually point to where on the screen it is? I don't know where it is.
Well,
We should figure that out. And we could be like, be sure you click and subscribe.
yeah, honestly, it's there. Yeah, honestly, it's right there. Actually, technically, it's right.
See, that's the thing. We got to figure it out.
Yeah, well, the subscribe button is right here, and the notification button is right here. But if you go down there, you can actually comment, and since this is live, you can comment with us real time.
Oh, and they can comment. Are we still doing the comments? We pick one person from the comments who gets a special gift.
Oh, look at you pushing
Yeah.
our incentives. That's right. One person that leaves comments after this goes up,
Okay,
not
not
during
during
live. No, not during live, because I don't want a whole bunch of people going, oh, they picked you. Well, screw you, hippie, blah, blah, blah. Because we are gamers, and that is how we roll. So I am going to say thank you guys for showing up today. And thank you, man. Thank you for showing up today.
Absolutely. I love doing this with you. It's more time than we get to spend together than we pretty much have in all the years we've known each other. This podcast has given us a reason to hang out that we should have been able to do even without the reason.
That's true. That is very true. I was about to say, yeah, it gave us a reason to hang out because we really don't like each other.
Yeah.
We really don't. We really don't. But what have you been up to in the past week? I'm glad I have you on a more of a semi-weekly basis. I know we do the every other Thursday thing because of the work schedule, but I got you 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, you got me 2 weeks in a row, partially because I know I was out for E3 was a big problem a few weeks ago, and then before that I was working, and like yesterday, normally Thursday's our day to meet up, and I was called into set, and then this morning we had confusion with whether or not I was going to set, and I am not at set, obviously, so I'm off today. But it's been a lot of 12-hour, 14-hour days. We're also working with. I'm doing voiceover for this guy Ben LeCompte, who's swimming the Pacific Ocean. If you check out Discovery or Seeker.com, it's called The Swim, and he's actually swimming from Tokyo to San Francisco, 8 hours a day. It's going to take him 6 to 7 months to complete this trip. And they've got scientists going with him and testing him the whole way. And I'm doing the VO for the updates, but I'd be kind of paying attention to this even if I wasn't working on it, because There's a guy swimming the Pacific Ocean. He's already swam the Atlantic, so this is not somebody who just boasts that he thinks he can do something and then do nothing. But my latest update, which I think goes up today, is all about the next chapter is him almost getting hit by a container ship because they didn't want to believe that there was a swimmer in the water. And so the people are like, no, check the internet. This is a real thing. There's a guy in the water right now swimming. Please turn.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that right there is a special kind of thing where it's like, okay, we're going. We're just bringing all this stuff to Costco from China, and that is, what the hell? There's a guy out there, sir. A guy, like, is he in a dinghy? Is he waving his arms or anything? Nope, he's just swimming, sir. Just swimming. Okay, he must be American. That must be, he must be American.
No, he's French.
Huh?
He's French. This guy, Ben Lecomte is his name, and he's got 2 boats with him. The one big boat that he spends the other 16 hours of each day on to sleep, eat, get ready. But they drop him back at the exact point that they took him out of the water.
Okay.
And so he's going to do the consecutive whole distance.
Oh, geez.
There's another boat that, since he's swimming with a snorkel on and looking down, he can't necessarily be sure that he's swimming in the right line. So there's another boat next to him that has a guideline that it's dangling and running in the water underneath him, kind of like when you go swimming in a pool and you've got the line on the water that you can follow.
Okay.
He's got
that's
a line
what those
underwater,
things are for.
and he's just swimming to follow that line, and it's leading him. They're using geopositioning to make sure they're leading him to San Francisco.
Okay.
But he's also going to swim through the trash bar.
Ew.
That big, nasty thing that's going on outside of Japan. And they're going to be testing the water there and testing him for having swam through the water. And it's an impressive feat that he's undertaking. And God, I hope he does. I hope he makes it.
Hey, honestly, I hope they really tap you to do the entirety of the voiceover. Okay.
I'm on for all 7 months or however long it takes him.
That is awesome because, normally that would be a Morgan Freeman thing, but hashtag me too. So,
well, he may be updating the actual. I don't know who's voicing over the actual whole productions, but these minute-long updates that are on Discovery's Facebook page and Twitter and stuff like that are me.
Okay, well, that is pretty freaking cool, and by that I mean congratulations for getting some work. Yeah. Seriously,
always nice to work.
Yeah, it really is, really is. I've been killing, just killing myself, but not as much as I normally have. Yeah,
I've gotten to see more of you also just from watching the live streams.
Yeah, 4 days, this is day number 5. Day number 5 that since I set up the live streaming stuff that we have been doing, and this is what I've been aiming for. I mean, just doing the whole production scheme, building the studio, getting the gear, yada, yada, yada. Although we're still not up to the gear that we need. So, oh God, it hurts my heart that I have to do this, but it is begging time. So in the links below, in the description, you will see like that, we have a GoFundMe up. A lot of people have been donating to it and we got some good perks. But we're not toward the goal that we need to make sure that I don't have to beg anymore to get all this stuff up and going and running and paying for itself. So the link to the GoFundMe is down there. Also, I decided to do something really big because everything I do with Back in the Deck, I'm building on a standpoint of not just reaching people that are normally not reached, but full disclosure. And that's like, everything I do, every show. Hey, what have you been up to this week? I've been up to this. I've been up to this. I've been up to this. Because as a performer, I learned a long time ago that if I'm on stage and I'm having a bad night and I tell the audience, I didn't come up with a good stand-up today because my car got hit and I got attacked by white supremacist lizards that like, I don't know how they got the white hoods on because they don't have opposable thumbs, but they were chasing me down Burbank Boulevard. People tend to go, you know what? Thanks. It's good to hear when someone says, I don't know, or I screwed up. So that's what I'm doing, everything. So in that, I also put a link to the thing that we've got the GoFundMe going for, which is the Switcher.
Yes.
that we're using, because if you
You'll
guys
notice
notice
a little bit of delay when he does.
that,
Okay, I froze.
Yeah.
But his freeze was fake.
it's true. My freeze was very fake, but
It'll do like this. I'm waving.
and that's what it'll look like. So once we get the switcher going, we'll be able to have smoother transitions. Primarily because that thing cost $1,000 at the very least. We're talking like the lowest tier, the cheapest one that we can use with modern equipment cost $1,000. The ones that like TV studios use, those things go up to 10 grand.
Oh yeah,
10 grand each. I'm like, God, who is throwing money at all this stuff? And then I realize, oh, that's why it's a profession. So yeah, the $15 that you pay for the movie ticket, that's primarily going to pay for the upkeep on all the cameras and the gear and all that stuff. So it's a thing.
They always need to have the most updated equipment. They're competing against everybody else. So if somebody joins the game with newer equipment, you've got to up your equipment so that you can be on a competitive field.
Yeah. Thanks, James Cameron. But so that's what we're doing on that. But I'm starting to get into the groove of like letting people know, hey, we're live casting now. But then I have to add the web page, and then I got to do the Twitter thing and all that stuff. So many thanks to all the people that have been helping, and that means you two,
yes,
all of you
guys. Thank you for watching right now.
Yeah, or listening, because one of the things that a lot of people do, which is why my heart isn't sinking that nobody's leaving comments in the chat right now, is they do what I do. They're like, all right, well, we got like a podcast or something going on. That's cool. So we're just going to listen. We're just going to listen. As a matter of fact, some people are like, you know what? We'll listen to the live cast. We'll put on the YouTube thing and we'll help you out with all that stuff. But I'm doing laundry. I'm taking care of the kids. I'm doing whatever, which is one of the reasons that I don't mind doing the live casting this early in the day. Working on a schedule thing right now to where people can actually watch us after work, so it's really a thing. It's a whole lot of checks and balances and ways, because James Brown used to say 25% show, 75% business. I just want to be on camera. Give me your attention and your love, damn it. Oh, man. So speaking of attention and love, I mean, have you been, you've been on the set for the thing that you were talking about, right?
Well, there's a show that I'm working on. I can't talk too much about it yet, but I've been doing a lot of days, mostly background, but some moments of featured, moments. But it's a show that I really actually have a lot of love for. I'll explain a lot more of that when I can. But we're going to be shooting pretty much through most of the summer in the heat, in the dust. It's going to be quite the experience. But I'm just hearing the script. The sense of humor that this show has and what its respect for the subject matter is pretty awesome. Those people that have met me or know me in person and have talked to me recently probably know what show I'm talking about. But for those who don't, I apologize. An actor's life does tend to be NDA ridden, which is non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah.
We can't always talk about the things that we want to, and sometimes
it means if you tell people what you do for a living, you're fired.
Yeah.
And
sometimes by the time we can talk about it, we've forgotten, because now we're working on another thing that we're really excited and want to tell you about that thing, and somebody has to remind us that.
Right.
Did you work on? Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah, that's right. I did that. Yeah. That's.
So. Yeah, my summer is going to be a lot of that show, and then I just got an email, may include some VO work for some animation. So, I'm working as hard as a man can, doing what I can to get by.
Awesome.
Also getting my gaming in there, though. I've had 2 tabletop sessions this week, which meant I slept 3 hours each of those nights, because it was work until 5:30. Then it was game from 7 till midnight or 1, then sleep 3 hours because it was another 5:30 a.m. call.
Jesus.
Work for 14 hours, go to a game, but I did it. I am still awake and still blinking. I think I'm blinking. Am I blinking? I can't tell if I'm blinking.
Yes, you're blinking. You are blinking.
So yeah, no, it's a good time, a good life.
Nice.
Trying to make the best of it.
Yeah, I found out earlier this week, I talked to one of the friends I made over at Stream of Many Eyes. Mm-hmm. And he and I have been working. Well, okay, I've been talking to him, and he has been working his butt off. and we managed to get clearance from the Boys and Girls Club of San Clemente to start the D&D club.
Yes, you talked about
Yes,
that.
that is
getting donated books from gamers that don't use them anymore.
Well, we're getting that.
Right?
That's part of it.
Yeah.
That is part of the charity aspect that we're doing. But primarily, we got the space and we have the permission from the establishment.
Oh,
Yeah, so
I
that
would be happy to run a game.
that is the huge. Well, I ain't gonna hold you to anything because you're working a lot. Somebody's gonna be a father for the first time soon.
Somebody, I don't know who.
And San Clemente is another 45 minutes south from me.
Oh,
So
I'm
that's
very
a
familiar with
2-hour
San
drive for you.
But what we can do is we can try and plan those on a specific day and make like a thing out of it. Go down, do whatever we're gonna, and then we can also go hang out on the beach that day. So if we set it up as a day,
That is
we
a
can
true
make it work.
thing. That is a very true thing. Yeah, and I've been talking with some of our cosplayers. So hopefully we'll be getting some Skype conversations in and featuring some of our cosplayers of color and various body types and various levels of ability. So that's a thing. I love being on camera. I really, really do. Like, here is where I want to be. But life is telling me, hey, you know what? You're a producer, and I'm just finally accepting it. I'm just saying, fine, I'll make the show, and that's what I'll do.
But I have to interject here. You are a producer, but you are also a content creator. You are also somebody who is on each of these shows. You're not just a producer. Would not be the co-host of how many shows now?
Well, just 5.
Yeah. So you are doing work. You are putting yourself on camera, and your personality is going to help carry Back in the Deck and all of the shows you're putting out there.
Maybe.
So
maybe
you get to live both worlds. Sometimes it has been my experience that some of the things that I really, really want to do, especially in entertainment, I recognized weren't going to happen if I waited for somebody else to create it and then hire me for it. You have to sometimes be the person to create it and then hire yourself, which is what you're doing.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I feel like Bender, It's like, screw your guys' entertainment industry. I'm going to start my own with blackjack and candy. And forget the blackjack, But yeah, seriously, it's one of those things. Some people are talking to me via Facebook Messenger. Please leave a comment. Talk to me in the comment section on the YouTube so I can access it more quickly, because again, part of the shows that we're doing, and this is something I learned from my mentors, go check them out at Double Toasted, is interacting with the chat in live time. So it's like, yeah, let's see what they're up to. So they're talking, I don't want people giving gifts of #FuckSolar, but because trying to make this PG. So but still do that kind of thing.
It is part of the fun. The few times I've had the fun experience of being on Geek and Sundry, watching the live stream, and every once in a while we're trying to talk about whatever the topic was, or sing songs, or do whatever we're doing, and we'd catch something out of the corner of the eye, like, oh my gosh, that was hysterical, wait, who said that? And it adds to it, and it kind of makes it more like a live show in the theater sense,
right,
where you can interact with your audience. And as somebody who loves theater, one of the things that has been my favorite aspect of theater is feeding off the audience's energy. The shows can be made or broken sometimes by whether or not the audience is reacting or enjoying themselves. If they're not enjoying themselves, doesn't matter how much the person's putting out there, they're going to be hurt for the energy that they're trying to put out, is they're not receiving any back.
That's exactly it.
A good audience is just as important for a good show, as a good performer. And a good game is that way too.
Yeah, and honestly though, our audience is hilarious. They really are. They're just sitting up. Partly because I make it very clear, as soon as somebody starts to troll, banhammer.
Oh, yeah,
it's just done. Because this is supposed to be a safe space for the people that have been trolled for so long.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're really working on here. And don't worry, I don't spend every single show talking about us. This is just our first week. Our first week being live.
It's my first time being live on Back in the Deck Productions. I need help to learn how to speak properly.
Why are you talking like that character from South Park? You know, you start talking like that, I'll start going Timmy, and then there's no more show.
I have so much respect for those guys in the fact that the Cripple Fight episode is shot for shot.
Yeah.
The actual scene of Rowdy Roddy Piper fighting. Who was up against?
That was David Keith.
David Keith.
That was David
fighting
Keith.
in They Live.
Right. As a matter of fact, and seriously, for those of you guys that are out there that honestly haven't seen it, yeah, it's a crazy thing. Now, They Live was one of my favorite movies in the 80s. I hate that it's been co-opted by so many conspiracy theorist guys.
I couldn't stand it.
You know,
I couldn't. I loved. There's so many quotable lines from it.
Well,
I give him full credit. The writing is phenomenal. Even the acting is good. It was the overall concept that I had a problem with, and especially
Really?
people looking at the watches going, "This one can see." it didn't work for me.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. One of the things that I tried to figure out there, and yeah, of course, I had to pull it up. So here we are, right here. We've got like the fight there with Rowdy Piper, and
Does this
yeah.
have the matchup?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
as a matter of fact, we do. And so yeah. I mean, I liked the plot. I liked all that jazz. But yeah, if we take a look here, it's like we got the fights going, and you know, yeah, they're going, and seriously, blow for blow, as shot for shot as the animators could do it.
Yeah.
It is, you know, it really is some wacky stuff. And again, I love those guys, but we are here today to talk about like I said, this is Table Talk, so our primary things are games. That is one of the things that we primarily do. And
I
you
am
said
a huge fan of tabletop gaming. I'm a huge fan of tabletop RPG. Part of the whole concept of it being Table Talk was what we can do at a table with time and a bunch of gamers. We can entertain ourselves. We can have fun. We can have a pleasant evening of geekery and nerdy. But so when the concept of it being Table Talk came up, it was like, yeah, that's perfect for us. I mean, a lot of the topics we come up with are things that would be discussed during a game session.
Yeah.
It's the conversation that would be had amid everybody's turns, because you play a game. The game isn't the whole thing that occupies the evening. It's the camaraderie, the conversation, everything that goes on while the game is going on that makes it fun with those people.
Right.
If you're just playing the game and you really don't want to talk to the people you're playing it with, then I recommend trying that game with people you enjoy talking to, because that game will be all the more fun.
It's true. It is so very true. Because when we've got the wait, I forgot the camera wasn't pointed at me. When you're at a game, and this is one of the reasons we do battle reports on this channel, there are so many aspects to showing up and playing games with your friends. One of the big aspects of showing up and playing games with your friends, of course, is all the talking, all the BSing, all of the catching up. How are the kids? How was your week? Blah, 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 blah. And then we set up the game, and then in between turns, depending on the type of game, in between turns, there's a lot of crosstalk and stuff. And honestly, there's a lot of opinions on that, left, right, sideways. You shouldn't crosstalk. You should. We get into all those eventually. We're going to be here for a while. But the fact is, it happens. So the only thing that's all the way across the board, the through line that states, okay, this is what this is the real opinion on crosstalk. It shouldn't disrupt the game for everyone that's there. But there is going to be table talk. It's just going to happen.
And there is a certain amount of policing that gets done by like self-policing, where you have to kind of look around and how much time have you taken from the game? How much have you distracted everybody? Is anybody like starting to get annoyed that we're not playing the game? Especially in RPGs, sometimes somebody will make a joke in it and that'll cause a digression. And as long as everybody's enjoying the digression, that's fine. But if you're the only person enjoying the trip you're taking in that conversation, then you probably should just be quiet and let the game continue, down its road. It's read your audience kind of thing.
Well, whatever do you mean?
enough people I know that have both. No, I'm just going to say it this way. Everyone I know has a story of somebody who has just gone off the rails and completely derailed a game because they wanted to talk about what they wanted to talk about and everybody else was there to play a game.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we've seen that a whole lot of
Yeah.
times. Yeah, quite honestly. Again, always the social contract when you show up for a game. Understand why you're there, and everybody should have that on the table. But today's games, or today's topic that I wanted to get into was there is a new trend in games. There is like just games in general. Games seem to be more popular today than they ever have been. Yeah, I'm adjusting. I'm trying not to get swampy. Um, yeah, there. I told you, full disclosure, man. Full disclosure. Whether or not you want it. No. There is a trend in a lot of games. Like everybody that has ever played board games and stuff with family, they know the big four. You know, Candyland, Monopoly, Sorry, and God, what was the fourth? Sorry, Monopoly, Candyland.
Sorry.
Well, let's just call them the Milton Bradley games. I could say chess, but that's a totally different thing. But all of the big games that we grew up playing, the big board games that we grew up playing, have one thing in common. They are competitive games. Now, there is a major trend in gaming right now to where people want to win, but they don't want to compete. And there's a lot of things about that. As you know, I spend a lot of time going to places with games in my hand saying, hey, does anybody want to play? I'm that guy. I know it seems a little creepy, and some folks have even said that I prance up to children in a very disconcerting manner. But, hey, it's public record. And I own it. I don't have any negative intentions with kids. I want families to play with each other, especially in the age of social media and mass communication, because we're drifting further and further and further apart. And I've yet to see any college student going, I remember when I was MySpacing with my dad. Good times. I haven't seen that yet. But when I end up going places, I've seen two major trends, and those are the things I want to talk about today. One, I'm going to touch on briefly because it deserves its own show, but that is getting drunk and playing a laughing game, but the laughing games tend to have this underlying air of I'll win by screwing everyone over. And then people add alcohol, and those things become really terrible.
What would you give as an example of that game?
The most easy example would be Zombies from Twilight Creations.
Okay.
Love that game.
Okay.
Love it, but you only win by tripping people in front of zombie hordes or pushing them aside. Cards Against Humanity is like really the biggest one, where it's I'm drunk and let me be funnier than the guy next to me.
Okay, so that's what you mean by throwing a wrench in the works for everybody is I'm going to be funnier than everybody. Because I was thinking Cards Against Humanity when you mentioned a laughing game, but I was trying to think how somebody can screw that up. My only problem with Cards Against Humanity, and I love it, I own most of their sets. I just got the dad set, which came in
Of course you did.
But the only problem I have with it is very often it has a way to win, but some people enjoy it so much, and I don't fault them for enjoying it so much that they play past the winning point because they're not really playing to win. But then it becomes the only game that's played that evening.
It becomes the only game.
The never-ending game, and so sometimes I like to hold that for a last game so that can be the one that as people are leaving, they just bow out.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I've tended to notice is that like I was a fan of Apples to Apples, but one of the things I've noticed is that a lot of people like getting really drunk and playing games like Cards Against Humanity and its variants from different companies with different skins, like the Cyanide and Happiness one, and a whole bunch of other.
Humidity.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just so many different, and it comes down to this idea. Okay, it really comes down to this idea of two things. One, learning new stuff is hard. Now I want to get drunk. Okay, I can't fault you for wanting to get drunk, but when people get together, there's more things to do. Okay? And second, there's this undercurrent of I'm afraid of looking stupid, and I'm afraid of losing that people really have when it comes to learning anything new, especially games. And since we grew up with the Milton Bradley games and chess, the paradigmic thought when it comes to game is zero sum. Someone has to win, someone has to lose. And that is why I hit you up with the topic today. The let's say plethora of games that are all co-op, the group against the game, like being at a blackjack table. It's everybody against the dealer, and those are games that I love myself. But again, a lot of people might not know that they're out there.
Well, I've found them extremely useful, especially in days. Every once in a while, you'll have a game, and as you get toward the winning point, somebody, sometimes it's even been me, starts to get a little testy about how the game's going. They don't think something was fair in their favor and stuff like that. And at that point, it's when I love to break out a co-op game, because it removes that competitiveness for just a little while. And we also know people who've quit playing games because they didn't like the competitive nature that brought it on themselves. And the co-op games become a great chance to still get those people in those games.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, so cooperative games, okay, co-op games as the vernacular states. They're literally games where a group of people get together, they have the rules of the game, they learn the rules of the game, and then they all help each other to defeat the scenarios. So it's what I like to call RPG light. You know, because that's generally tends to be the nature of most tabletop role-playing games. But you don't have to read a forever tome of knowledge in order to understand what you're doing.
This is true.
I've talked about a few on some previous shows, like Zombicide is one of the ones that I really found that I like. Primarily because it comes with cool miniatures and it's very superhero-esque. I feel like I'm a hero when I'm playing the game. But for those people that don't really like violent aspects of games, and a game does not have to be violent to be fun, and for those of us who are really tired of zombies, really, just I'm so tired. I'm so tired of zombies.
I still want to get on Walking Dead. It's a goal of mine at some point to get a zombie on that show. I'm more full-bodied than I know they want now, because they're at the point where all of the zombies are somewhat more emaciated.
Yes, they're very gaunt.
Yes. It's a dream of mine.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm tired of zombies. I'm tired of, we're the best part about this world because of the people that survive are all raiders and victims. That's all that's left. And I don't really like bleak settings. So I hit you up as my board game guy, and I'm letting you know that for the next month, for the month of July, I really want to feature a lot of cooperative games. Okay. Because just a little background on me, I'm a little tired of competition. And I know that sounds weird because I play so many tabletop miniatures games. And tabletop minis games are head-to-head, one-on-one. Someone wins, someone loses. Yeah. But with most of the games that I've played over the course of my entire life, I've never really given a damn about winning. I'm always happy to play. But that removes a lot of fun from a lot of people that play with me because they don't get the satisfaction of domination. It's kind of like beating someone to a bloody pulp and they look up going, good job, let's do it again. It's like that interrogation scene from Batman or from The Dark Knight. Batman's beating and the Joker's laughing because he's having so much fun. I spent a lot of time with tabletop miniatures games and collectible card games, but the number one forums to play those things are tournaments. Tournaments where it is about bare bones minimalism. You are here to win. I don't care if you have fun. Winning is what's fun. What's wrong with you? And since that was the number one forum that I had for so long, I just got tired of playing with people because winning was all they were concerned about, and they'd stop thinking about the wholeness, and I hate to say it, but the holistic nature of the game as it was written and as it was played, and they cut down everything to its bare bones so that they can win quickly and decisively. And then I discovered co-op games. You know.
Yeah, I had a very similar experience. I was brought early into the Magic the Gathering game.
No.
Back when right before Arabian Nights came out, which was the first expansion. And one of the problems I had was two of the people that I frequently had access to play with were the types that wanted decks that ended the game within 2 to 3 turns, and every time the exact same creatures came out, the exact same stuff happened. And I know people also do that with their Yu-Gi-Oh decks. I really love seeing the amazing things that happen if you have the extra turns to be able to bring out these giant creatures or these more amazing combinations that only happen if the game goes longer.
Right.
And so for me, I'd rather lose a 20-30 turn game than win a 4-turn game or a 3-turn game. It's less fun for me because, especially if that's your deck, you're always seeing those same 3 cards, and your whole point is to pull out those same 3 cards.
It's so true.
It's not fun for me.
Well, you know, and if you guys notice, we're being very personal here. Like, this is very for me. There is no set way to have fun when you're playing games. However, there are many, many forums that are possible to have games, to have fun with. Again, I much like the Bard over there, I'm a fan of different ways to accomplish things. I like seeing the wholeness of a game as it was written. I like looking at the things going, oh, so that's why they're there. For you role players out there, bards exist for a reason, and a group of them are terrifying.
Especially in 5e, from what I'm hearing, and I may actually finally get to play my first bard in 5e.
Well, hey, we'll see how that one goes. However, what tends to happen is quite often the competitive world is the place where the money's made. So casual tends to have to be made sort of underground. You know, you won't really find many game stores that say, we're here for casual Magic the Gathering night. We're here to casually play War Machine. They say casual. They may think casual, but they always pull out their tournament stuff. But we'll talk about that later on. I've got one of our co-hosts is actually a major tournament head who I like to say is in recovery because his life just hit the next level. Yeah, you know I'm talking about you, man. But the solution that seems to be the thing are co-op board games. With the co-op board games, there is no I win, you lose, haha fun. We'll get to the cons about co-op games later on in the show. But you brought a few. You brought a few with us.
2, when you asked me about it, 2 came to mind that I wanted to bring up as topics. And one of the things just I wanted to touch on, these are also fantastic.
Move your mic a little closer. Do a little.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, just
better. How about now?
That works.
Okay.
Yeah, that works.
So one of the things I've also realized about co-op games is they're fantastic for bridging the gap between the lifetime gamer and the person who, you know, I've never really played a game, but sure, I'm interested in maybe doing something like that. And if you play the competitive games, then the person who's never played anything before and isn't really great on strategies for that game, and you've played it 9,000 times and you're fantastic at it, you're going to lose that person as a potential person to play games with.
Right.
Because they're not going to enjoy getting swamped and tromped and, you know, killed every time.
Well, we like to call it raffle stomped. Now, for those of you guys watching, because this is the internet, I'm letting you know now, and we'll get back to the Bard in a moment, but I'm letting you know now that, yeah, what happens to you guys in video games, especially online playing, or showing up to one of those, like, Guitar Hero or the new virtual reality game where the person does the Guitar Hero like thing with lightsabers.
Oh,
you know,
I love it. Beat Saber.
Yeah, Beat Saber.
I love that game.
Yeah, we're talking about the dude that owns the game that unlocked everything and it's just not fun to play with versus everyone else. I mean, this has been a thing for as long as gaming has been. So when you don't want to, hey, I want to learn how to play this game. And the only way for you to learn is to play with this dude that's just raffle stomping you all over the board. Used to happen to me, and I'm like, how'd that happen? Oh, well, it happened because I'm good and you're not. Okay, well, how do I get better? Just keep playing. I'm like, I didn't Mr. Miyagi this, thank you. I just want to play a game. I don't want to learn karate.
Well, and especially on, how I've noticed in some games when you have a picking a character for it, and each of the characters has different stats or different abilities within the game, and the person who knows everything always goes for their favorite, and you're like, okay, but you know a trick about that character. I'm still figuring out mine.
Right.
And so like you realize, oh, I should have used that here. Or, oh, I realize, and as you play, even those of us who've played, I don't even know how many games I've played, but it's a lot.
Nerd.
Total. Admitted. Confirmed. But the playing a new game, a lot of times there'll be like a feeling of, oh, well, had you mentioned ahead of time that this is a strategy for this character, which you've also played, and you know that's a strategy for this character, and you didn't tell me. And it can sometimes feel like you just wanted to win against somebody, and you brought me in to be a victim.
Right.
And, that's one of the reasons why something I'm doing on my Instagram is I'm actually putting up what I'm calling gameplay and strategy. We're going to start a series called Merely Playing from it. All the world's a game, and we are merely playing. And I try to give some strategy tips so that if you've never played the game before, here's a few pointers of what you might want to focus on. Here's the aspect of the game that your attention should really be on. And here's the thing that maybe, don't worry so much about this, it doesn't play out later in the game.
Right. Now, as I tend to teach games, I try and make it very clear to everyone that I teach. I know that you want to win, but there is a time for learning and there is a time for winning. And your first time at the table is not the time for winning. It might be a consequence of learning well. It might be an augmentation that might be great, but ask questions, learn the rules. A lot of people, because of this, I'm afraid to lose type idea, like will sit down, learn a game from me, and they'll have questions like, well, if I play this strategy, will I be able to do this? And when they ask, I'm like, yes, very good. Let's play this out like a good teacher does. But they're afraid to ask that question because they think that as soon as they ask it, I will counter it, or I will tell them no, or I'm just looking for a punching bag. But with co-op games, that circumvents a lot of those problems. Now, the first game that you brought over today is Forbidden Desert by who? Who was? Forbidden Desert.
Forbidden Desert is by Gamewright.
Yes, Forbidden Desert by Gamewright. And this is a co-op game which focuses on a group of people that are stuck in the desert, essentially. That's what I'm seeing. Like, hey, we're stuck in the desert and we're looking for treasure and we are a team, right?
Well, it's not looking for treasure. It's actually looking for the pieces to create the flying machine that will get you out of the desert.
Okay.
The game that came out before this was Forbidden Island, and that was seeking 4 pieces of treasure that you had to get before the island sunk. And everybody had to get back to the helipad to fly off the island before the island sunk. If one person didn't make it, the whole game was lost. So you had to monitor everybody and help everybody make sure they got through. Forbidden Desert is that game taken to another level. There's a little bit more complication to it. There's a little bit more strategy needed. It literally is like leveled up from Forbidden Island. But you're supposed to be finding the pieces to an airship that you're going to put together, and then all of you have to get to the airship before everything gets blown away, essentially.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like that idea.
Sand.
Now, an interesting thing about this game that I have noticed is that it doesn't have a board. It's a board game without a board. So it's a boardless game? I mean, if we look at this here, yeah, we got some pieces on a carpet, just sitting up with a bunch of tables and a bunch of things. But yeah, honestly though, it's board game don't necessarily mean a board, but I am liking the idea of this game a lot more than a lot of people think because it doesn't have as many fiddly bits.
That's
right?
true.
Well, I mean, would you say that
There's not a lot of fiddly bits. No, the pieces that you are really going to be focusing on is the those crisscross patterns you see on the board. Those are that place has been covered in sand. So you're going to be clearing those. You also need to excavate at each of those locations. You can't excavate at a location if it's got a stack of sand on it. The sand keeps stacking higher and higher, and there is a point where once it's stacked a certain height, you can't cross through that. You have to start digging at that point. As a matter of fact, I think, if I remember correctly, there's a height that if one tile gets to a certain height, then you've lost the game.
Okay.
If I remember correctly.
All right, yeah. And again, with the fiddly bits there, I mean, that's pretty much about it. That's, hey, the flying machine is here. We're trying to get out of the desert. One of the things I noticed in this game is the danger of dehydration. I am such a fan of that.
It is real.
Okay.
It is. You have to monitor everybody else's their hydration level, because if one person dies from dehydration, you lose the game, and it starts to get more and more an issue as certain things happen. Certain cards will come up that make everybody lose a hydration point. And it becomes a real challenge to make sure and watch everybody else's, because they may not be noticing that they need water. But one of the professions that you can have is the water bearer, who can bring water to people. Otherwise, you have to find one of the I think there's 3 oases that are buried under there. And then you can go to there and get water.
Okay. All right. Now, that is a very cool thing. And again, like we were saying, this is very group activity. Very, very, because again, you lose one guy and everybody loses.
It's made by the creators of Pandemic. So it has a lot of the feel of Pandemic. If you're fans of that game.
We've got a Vixen in the chat room going, Pandemic!
Yeah, Pandemic. I love the game. It is really hard to beat if you play it at the good levels. I still have not played the one where you're supposed to play it once. Legacy.
Okay.
Legacy Pandemic. I've yet to play it. I want to play it. But this is by those same guys, and it has a bit of a softer feel than the panic that Pandemic gives you. But I forgot where I was going. You would mention something before that.
Lose one, everybody loses?
No, that wasn't it. No. Every once in a while, a thought in my brain dies a lonely death.
No, I was saying, like, with this particular game, one person dies of dehydration and the whole game is lost. So it's very everybody against the environment. And now, there are certain things I've noticed about games like that, and I learned it with Zombicide. And this isn't anything that a game can really write rules for without someone feeling alienated, isolated, or targeted, and that is the control freak of the campaign. There's always going to be somebody that's like, no, we're going to do this my way because my way is the most efficient. And sorry, there's no way to write rules around that without going, sorry, Todd, but the people are here to play a game as a group, Todd, and although you are very good at playing games and winning games, Todd, I mean, there's really no, and any clever person that reads rules will be like, hey, I think they're talking about Todd. Is it possible because they put Todd in the rules 4 times? Yeah, I mean, so when a person is playing these games, when a group is playing these games, it sadly isn't up to the producer of the game to keep Todd in mind. That's where the group has to act as a group to like rein Todd in a little bit. And I know in this day and age, it's just easier not to invite Todd or to lie to Todd or stuff like that. But seriously, this is one of the reasons that we play games and go to public school, is to learn how to interact with other people.
Yep.
Now, the other game that you brought today, I find interesting because, for the desert game, for
Yes.
Desert Sands.
Forbidden Desert.
Yeah, and Forbidden Desert. Who would you recommend this game for?
Well, if you're playing with younger people, I recommend actually going with Forbidden Island.
Okay.
The rules are a little bit quicker.
Define younger.
Younger, I'd say probably under 14.
Okay.
Under they're or also people who are new to gaming. Forbidden Island has less rules to worry about, less complications that come up. The tiles either are flooded there or sunk. Like, there's only 3 conditions for the tiles. They don't move. Like in Forbidden Desert, the tiles move.
Oh, okay.
So I would recommend that for the younger or newer to gaming. As far as Forbidden Desert, I'd recommend it for all ages. I'd recommend it for anybody who likes co-op gaming. I mean, it's one of my favorites to break out for when people are, as I mentioned earlier, starting to get a little tense because the competitive nature is starting to build.
Right.
Hey, why don't we play some Forbidden Desert? That'll smooth everybody over.
Yeah.
And you can even somewhat smooth it over by everybody having their positions. If somebody is the more tense person right now, then you make sure they have one of the professions. It's gonna give them the chance to really save the day and feel that they were part of it. Or you can do it random and see what happens. But everybody works together, and the goal becomes a joint goal and brings everybody a little closer. And then you either play another co-op game, or I think we're ready to maybe go into something that's got a little bit of the competitive nature again.
Yeah, like diplomacy. No, I'm kidding. For those of you guys that aren't board gamers, I promise you we'll get into diplomacy, or as what we call the friend ender. Because man, I've seen that game take up so many relationships. But yeah, so what would you on our scale? What would you rate? What would you rate Forbidden Desert?
I almost want to give it a royal flush because I do think it is such a well-designed game. It is not expensive. It's not a ton of parts. It's not. And coming from a guy who's played collectible trading card games and has played games that have so many expansions and so, it's nice every once in a while to have one game that's kept in one box and boom, you don't just need that one thing. It's pretty quick to teach. The people who don't even have it at the very beginning pick it up within a couple turns. Like it's a smooth game and a fantastic game for smoothing over. You know what? I think I'm gonna give it the royal flush.
Wow.
I think for what it is the perfect game for that. I like games that are more complicated sometimes, and I want games that have more aspects to them and more variation in the gameplay. I'm a huge fan of like Betrayal at Haunted House, or Hill House. Betrayal at Hill House, because it's a different game every time you play, and Forbidden Desert isn't. But when I'm looking for that type of game, that is probably the perfect version of a co-op game.
Okay, and for those of you guys that aren't familiar with our rating system, I'll post it on in the comments when I'm done with all this stuff, or at least in the description. But Royal Flush, well, we rate things here by poker hands because we are gamers, and Royal Flush is pretty freaking high. I believe it's the highest rating we have on our system, so that's big. We put a link currently, if you guys are interested in looking it up, we put a link to Amazon. At the time of this broadcast, it's only $25 for this game, so the Amazon link is down there in the description. And so moving on to our next game, though. You brought another game, which I find interesting because on my 40th birthday, a good friend of ours, Alvin, brought, I believe it was Dragon's Inn.
Red Dragon Inn.
Yes, Red Dragon Inn, where the entire purpose of the game was, well, let's tell a story. A D&D campaign, and for longtime gamers, we all know that every game begins and ends at the tavern. And this board game is, when you're in between campaigns, what do you do at the tavern? And the answer is spend your treasure trying to get your other party members to die of alcohol poisoning.
No, there is never the aspect of death. It is completely painted in. You gamble, drink, and fight until the last person's standing. Passing out is not dead. So you start with your alcohol token at 0 and your stamina fortitude token at 20. And as you drink, as you fight, as you drink, as you fight, and when they cross over, you pass out.
Yeah.
If you ever run out of gold, you get thrown out. So you want to you monitor those 3 things, and it's one of my favorite games. Full disclosure, I also demo 4 Slugfest games. Matter of fact, I'm going to be at Comic-Con this year. I've got 2 times during the run of Comic-Con that I'm going to be playing Red Dragon Inn and possibly this next game there to help people understand these games. So I'm a big fan of it, but I'm one of their demo people.
Okay. So but the game that you brought us today is Red Dragon Inn Battle for Greyport, which is a fascinating take on the Red Dragon Inn because it's the adventure.
It's the interruption. The idea is that the town of Greyport is where the Red Dragon Inn is. So the idea of Battle for Greyport is that the drinking, fighting, and gambling has been interrupted. Somebody's invading the town. All right, 4 of you get out there and deal with this. 5 of you get out there and deal with this. And so it starts with the 4 main characters. They are from Red Dragon Inn 1. And then they also threw in Kronos the Time Mage. It was part of the Kickstarter. They added this 5th character.
My favorite character from Red Dragon Inn, by the way.
I love Kronos. But
of course, it's a black dude that's a wizard, so, what do you want?
And his abilities. He's got some amazing abilities, playing with time. But the idea is they have ranging interactions that'll happen. So it can be everything from a Goblin King and his bruiser have come to town, and you deal with them because they're trying to steal the ale, to there's a Hydra. And
do you remind him of the babe?
What babe?
The babe with power.
What power?
The power of voodoo.
Hoodoo?
You do.
Do what?
Do you remind him of the babe?
So it can be a Hydra, it can be a dragon. It scales, so you can even play some of the lower level challenges for people who maybe are just getting to play the game, and the higher level for everybody who's played it multiple times and like, dude, I want to try this. And you may not win. It is co-op. There is a very good chance, especially if you played at some of the higher levels, or what they now have is a hardcore mode.
You might get beat.
It was a Kickstarter game. And Kickstarter games, especially this being one that had never used this model before, when it first came out, the sample game, the game that was designed with only 2 rounds to be easier for everybody, ended up being almost impossible to beat. It was deemed harder than some of the other games. So they released new rules that made that game more reasonable for starting out in learning this gaming campaign. And then one of the aspects they allowed you to do was to heal up between encounters.
Okay.
And so you can still choose to play without that, which is now known as hardcore mode, and you don't heal up between. But the game is fantastic for you all have monsters that are on you and monsters that are on the location. And so you want to fight the monsters that are on you and taunt away the monsters that are on location, or fight them at the location. However, some of the monsters have an ability that as soon as you hit any monster at that location, the big baddie comes at you.
Yeah.
So really you want to kind of...
Aggro zone, man. Aggro zone.
You may want to taunt from other people. You may want to taunt... Like, it's a lot of manipulating the board by taunting the monsters around and doing as much damage. On your turn, only the monsters in front of you are active, and the monsters that are on the location are active. So when they get to their damage round, only the ones that are left in those 2 locations do damage. But everybody gets to attack the monsters that are in front of you or the monsters that are on the location. And you keep going around in a rotation. So you have to plan. You only get to draw on your turn. So you have to plan your helping other people in like, look, I'd love to help you, but my turn's next. And I need this guy to beat this ogre that's on me. So I can't help you. And it's a lot of discussion of, okay, well, if you help me with your big guy right now, when it's your turn, I'll help you with this big thing that I have. That negotiation becomes part of the gameplay, and it's really fun.
I bet. I'm looking forward to playing this game. with you because, well, playing this game with anybody, again, this guy and I live an hour apart, so
At least.
but you know, we
Sometimes
can
an hour and a
always
half, hour and 45 minutes. LA traffic. Yay!
yes.
It's
LA
the day. It's the last day of a possible holiday weekend.
Oh god.
It's gonna be fun going home.
yeah. Well, honestly, you never know. I don't know how traffic was getting out here, but since it is a holiday weekend, sort of, it's the first weekend before the 4th of July. Some people got off yesterday and they're already gone.
True.
They're already gone, and some people might get off early and stuff, but again, it's not even lunch break for most people right now.
True.
At least most people here on the West Coast. What's up? Because I think we have a New York person actually watching, so sorry about the human soup that you live in right now. But yeah, so what would you rate? What would you rate Greyport?
Well, initially, I'd probably give it a. I refresh my memory. I always get confused on this one, which is higher, flush or straight. Flush or straight, which is higher?
You don't play poker.
Not often enough.
Yeah, no, a flush is higher than a straight.
Okay, so originally, when the initial one came out, I would give it a straight because it did have some flaws. It had some kinks to work out. The new expansion comes with those changed rules and information about hardcore. The new expansion is pirates. And so Red Dragon Inn, I believe it was 4, was all nautical characters. It's the captain, the first mate, the bosun, and the cannoneer, I believe.
Okay.
And so those 4 characters were released with new encounters that involve ships landing and what's coming off the ship. When you get to those final combats, there's not as many monsters on the location because the ship spawns a new monster every turn. So you have to take out that ship before you can move on to the guy who's the captain. As a matter of fact, a lot of the captains of the ships will have some shields and some absorbing of damage until you get rid of their ship.
Okay.
So a lot of new stuff came with that, and at that point, I would move it up to a flush.
Okay. All right, so we're talking like one more time. Hey, look at that. Battle for Greyport. And again, we've got the link below if you're interested in that. A little more pricey than the desert game there. Just a little bit more pricey. I mean, not a whole lot. We're talking maybe $6-7 more. So that's actually not a bad, those aren't bad suggestions.
There is one more thing I wanted to add about the game, something that makes it different from Forbidden Desert and a little bit more complicated, which is why I don't recommend this necessarily for the first time you're going into co-op gaming, is it is a deck builder. So you start off with a very basic deck. It just has, I think, 9 cards in it, and those cards do like 1 point of damage.
Okay.
You would use your money that you have in the game. You get money each encounter, and you buy cards that make your deck more and more powerful, which is another thing that I would love to see them with the game up these starter decks, because a lot of times those starter decks are a little on the boring side, and you don't have enough time in the game to get enough of those cards to make your deck really, really impressive. So it's the only thing I think it could use a little bit of adjusting on, is those starter decks are so basic and so large that really, even when you're in the final encounter, you're still pulling up so many of them. You haven't been able to really get rid of the cards from your deck that you started with. So it'd be nicer for only some of the basic cards and then some more that are dedicated to those characters you're playing in your starter deck. And so then as you buy cards from the thing, you're just enhancing an already functional deck rather than starting with something so basic and getting up to functional.
Okay. You know, that's an interesting thing. And again, there are a lot of people here that aren't avid gamers and stuff. But what I am going to say is, don't worry, guys. We will. I promise we are going to define what all these different types are. Tabletop, deck builders, all that stuff. So over the next month, we're going to be going over a few games, and mostly co-op, at least here on Table Talk. On Game Gallery, we'll probably be going over some of the more competitive games because I don't want to get knifed in the neck by the Duggernaut. But yeah, so those are our games, and if it seems like I'm ending the show, I know I'm supposed to sound like I'm ending the show because this is going to be one of the highlights that I put up on YouTube later. Well, yeah. Again, this is a long, big thing, and too long, don't watch, and all that stuff. So we're gonna be doing like smaller segments as I do more editing and time. Now that
Understood.
I have more time,
Yeah.
because doing the live cast is there. But for those of you guys listening on SoundCloud, don't worry. I'll be putting up a link to this thing so that you can find the Amazon link quickly. Find our other stuff now. For the last thing, wrapping it up, or the last two things before we get out of here.
Yeah.
We've got Nomi Jade in the chat saying,
I know me.
yeah, she might play too much RDI.
There's no such thing. As a matter of fact, Nomi played RDI at my house. I think it was for my birthday or something, and we had such an amazing time because it was a lot of people playing RDI, Red Dragon Inn, that were somewhat of a performance slant to us. We like assuming our characters, LARPers or gamers or actors, and she was playing Kaylee, who is this little fairy. And she was being sweet and adorable as she was beating the hell out of us. I think I was playing Kronos, but we all were getting in our characters, which added to the play of it. We were
Nice.
having fun interacting, and the table talk became more us talking as our characters. It was a little more RPG than the game always lends itself to, because we were playing with a lot of people who either LARP or act.
Right, right. And quite honestly, I'm a big fan of turning anything into RPG. Well, almost anything. Oh yeah.
I think it
Role
came
playing.
down to Nomi and I at the end of that game.
Yeah, actually, and so they're sitting up there. We've got Envy This 15. Looking in, yep, New York City is nice today, but yesterday was awful.
Ooh.
So that must have been human soup.
Glad it improved?
Well, what was that?
Glad it improved?
Yeah. So you brought up something very interesting, and I thought that I would premiere this announcement here. You said you're going to be at Comic-Con doing a thing?
Oh, I wish I'd thought of looking up the times. I believe there's a time on Thursday and a time on Saturday that I will be in the gaming area, which a lot of people don't know there is a gaming area at Comic-Con. It's either one or two hotels over from the convention center, and a lot of games come out there, and either some of the new Kickstarter games, or they're showing new versions that are sometimes not released. I demo for Steve Jackson Games as well as for Slugfest, and AEG is out there, and I mean there's also, if you play any game, chances are that game company has a table there with people there that are going to teach people how to play. Sometimes it's a fun chance to just sit down for a bit, because Comic-Con is a lot of walking. Some people don't like leaving the floor. Some people, too many you got to do your panels, got to see the floor, and they don't have time to go over for gaming.
Well, more like
understood.
you gotta see the floor and stand in line for a panel.
True. Or to get those exclusives. But for those who do want to try the gaming area, I'll be working with Slugfest Games, demoing either Red Dragon Inn or Battle for Greyport, depending on what people want to play. And I know that I may even be helping out somewhat Steve Jackson with Munchkin, and oh gosh, what else are they doing this year? I haven't looked at their list of what they want to focus on this year, but there's tons of games that Steve Jackson Games does.
Okay, and it's good to know that you'll be at Comic-Con, because I'm going to need somebody to talk to. That's right. Back in the Deck Productions will be at San Diego Comic-Con this year.
Nice.
Didn't want to go. Didn't want to do it. I really didn't want to do it. But we got one of our celebrity friends was like, "Oh man, you should really spread the message of the community work and all that stuff. Here's your pass to Comic-Con." And I'm going, I personally swore off Comic-Con. I said, no, not until I'm doing my own panel, or I'm pushing my own book, or I'm in a Marvel movie or an X-Men movie, me. And then we start this company, and I'm like, it is good press. I'm getting a free pass. And yeah, I know I sound like I'm complaining and whining and all that stuff. And please.
First world comic book problems.
Yeah, right. Yeah, first world convention problems. So after, 10 years of not going, I'll be there doing interviews. getting pictures of cosplayers. So if you guys want to talk to us, get an interview, show up in your cosplay being like, you know what? I'm not Iron Man in a wheelchair. I'm just Iron Man. We will put you on camera. Just come look for me. I'll be walking around with the camera, be walking around with the microphone, doing the interviews, getting the stuff, making friends, and introducing people throughout the halls, throughout the gaming area, and on the streets of San Diego.
I feel like I can't commit to this because, again, I don't know entirely what my schedule is going to be. And as somebody who has been there 10 years ago when you swore it off and is still going now, you're going to be surprised. It's changed a lot. It's a lot more crowded. But what I think we may want to look into is deciding a time and place where Deckers are going to meet up.
Oh, well, you know what? It's funny that you mentioned that.
You already did.
You know, no, I didn't already do it. I thought about it. Okay. I really thought about it. But I decided to let the Deckers not organize it, but throw out suggestions of places to meet in San Diego. So if you guys really want to meet up with us and you're going to be at San Diego Comic-Con, leave a comment below. Who knows, you might get some swag. And join us on Deckers on the Book, and let's have that discussion really going so we can talk to all of us here at Back in the Deck that are going to be at Comic-Con, and we can all be on the same page instead of me calling up everybody going, hey, you're going to Comic-Con, and you're going to this meetup thing right there. No, I don't want to be that kind of boss. I want everybody on the same table until I start paying you guys, in which case I would be like, hey, what are you doing sleeping? Look, babies cry, get up. You know, that's what I'll be like once you start making money from this. But Vixen's like, look at you go. But yeah, so that is one of the things that we're going to be doing. We are also again, I'm serious about the cosplayers. Cosplayers of colors, I want to put you on the YouTubes and put your pictures up and all that jazz. Because, again, one of the reasons I quit doing cosplay was because I got tired of being Black Dr. Orpheus and Black Iron Man. Or should I say, wait, aren't you War Machine and Tony Stark's armor? I'm just joking. No, you weren't. And I'm going to find out where you live and nail your doors and windows shut and then cover it in spiders. That's what I plan on doing. But I'm just saying, you know, I'm getting a lot less violent in my old age.
And
so
you're playing Sims and removing the doors and windows again, aren't you?
Yeah. 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 You know me so well. Or did we talk about that last week?
Both.
Okay, all right.
I know you so well, and we talked about that last week.
Okay, yeah. So, hey, look.
For those who missed that episode, you should head over to
yeah, callback punchline. Okay.
Exactly, callback punchline.
Yeah. So with that, yeah. So that's one of the things that's coming on. So we've got the gaming club going in San Clemente. We're working on starting the RPG clubs in North Long Beach. And Compton and Watts will be giving more information on those clubs as we get more. But life moves at the speed of bureaucratic paperwork. So as soon as that makes it go, then I'll let you guys know. But we're really working on a lot of things. It's not just, you know, we're not just a production company that puts on these videos and these live casts. We're building a community, and we're glad that you guys are part of it. Did you want to tell them anything else?
I don't know that I have any more on this topic. I mean, we're going to be talking co-op games for the month of July, so I don't know that I want to spill them all right now. Big fan of co-op games because, as I mentioned, they're a great tool to bringing people into the community. I'm a big fan of the reason the community grows is if people are helpful to new gamers.
Oh, absolutely.
The minute you are rude to a new gamer, or you shut them out, or you stomp them when they're just learning something, you've just made somebody who now hates games. Yeah. And I've heard the stories from people who hate games. And usually it's, well, no, I tried playing that stuff, and you guys just never give us a chance to learn. Or you guys, and I don't want that to be the representation that we as gamers put forward. We should be encouraging for people to join our numbers. We should be, the more people you get to play with, you know, I'm so happy that we're starting to get bars that have games now. I mean, in this area alone, you've got the Game House is a coffee house and does serve some booze. That in Glendale, California, that plays games and has a huge library. The Guild Bar in Hollywood has an amazing bar that serves all sorts of drinks and food, and they have a collection of games that you can sit and play.
Yeah, and let's not forget Scum and Villainy.
Scum and Villainy, where I'm going this coming Monday. They're going to have Marvel Night. All the games are going to be themed Marvel.
Ooh.
Last Monday was a co-op game that I'll talk about next time because it was Jurassic Park themed.
Yeah, actually, I think I might show up at Scum and Villainy on Monday and bring some hero clicks with me just to see if I can get some new players and some battle reports done. So
absolutely, and they don't necessarily expect people to bring games. They actually have a ton of games there. This last time that I went for Jurassic Park, they were demoing the Jurassic Park game on the center tables, but you could take whatever game you wanted to any of the other tables and play, and you get points for playing, you get points for what you buy at the bar, you get points for showing up, you get extra points for winning, and there's a raffle, and so they give away stuff. But it was a lot of fun. I got invited to it. I need to get their link and stuff so we can start promoting, because it's a I believe it's a radio show that is the one that's putting this on.
Well,
I haven't looked enough into it. I've only been once, but other people have been many, many times. I love what they did last week. I'm going to see what they do this coming week.
All right, and just for one more thing I wanted to get from you, actually. Now that we're live, we've been doing a lot of shout-outs on the pre-recorded stuff that I haven't done it. So little shout-out to some of like the voice acting classes and the other podcasts that people could listen to, because, yeah, I'm not competitive. So, no, seriously. So, I got a couple of questions on another show about, I want to be a voice actor. How do I do that? And I'm like, take some classes. And they're like, where do I take classes? Yeah.
That is always a challenge. One of the first things I point everybody to, and full disclosure, I'm involved in it, is Crispin Freeman has a podcast called Voice Acting Mastery.
You might remember him from such projects as Hellsing.
Yeah, Hellsing. They're all over the board. I mean, latest stuff he's been working on, if you play Diablo, the wizard character is his voice. If you watch Young Justice, he's Red Arrow. He's all over the place doing a lot of work. Very, very successful voice actor. And he covers everything from interviewing other voice actors and telling you how they got into the business, because everybody's story is different. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons he brought us on, which were his field reporters, there are three of us, Tom Bauer, myself, and Maureen Price, and we were brought on because he wanted to notice that how he got into the industry isn't necessarily what'll work today. The industry's changed since he got into it. So he wanted to get people who are closer to their joining the industry. And it's different today than it was when, I started taking classes in it 4 years ago. It's a constantly evolving thing. But those podcasts are free, and I highly recommend them, the Voice Acting Mastery and Voice Acting Mastery Field Reports. There's also Rob Paulson has Talking Tunes, I believe is the name of his podcast, another exceptional one.
Damn it. You had to say Rob Paulson.
Of course.
You've just made me single. You've totally just made me
somebody in the thing jump in on
No. It's just, my little vixen down there has a huge crush on Robert Paulson, and you've just told everyone that's watching this program where to find him. So thank you.
I think Geek and Sundry's been leaking where he's able to be found before I did. But and also, if you're looking for classes, look into some of the major studios if you're in the area. Or if you're not, find a chance to go to those areas, because the classes aren't going to come to you if you're not in areas where they don't do voiceover.
It's true.
Your main hubs are going to be, I know there is a Northwest hub. LA is a hub. Texas is a hub. New York is a hub. There are other hubs that are coming up. But if you're in one of those areas or can get to one of those areas, find out what studios are there in that area and take classes from them. Those are people who are working. Because the one thing I would recommend is when you're looking at a class, look what the person's teaching has done. If they don't have a lot of credits to their name or experience in the field, then they may just be teaching you stuff they learned from somebody else.
That's fair.
You try and get that information as firsthand as you possibly can and can afford to, because classes can be expensive. So that's my recommendation on it. My 2 cents, which are worth the air they're printed on.
Well, awesome. So with that, let's see. Checking the chat one more time. All right, cool. What other comments do we got going? There no other comments. Yeah, and I'll be leaving links to those two classes or all the classes that he was talking about probably by the end of today. But if you guys have any other questions or any other games that you want us to cover or recommend or problems that you've had, like I don't like games when it turns out you just don't like gamers, or
I want to add one more on there because I remembered seeing that it is part of the Kickstarter for Goblins Animated Series 2. They're trying to build more and more of this, which if you're not familiar with the Goblins webcomic, I've been a fan of it since almost the beginning. If you've played D&D, you will love this. If you enjoy anything fantasy-based, you will love this webcomic. So well written, so well drawn. Terrell does an amazing job with it. But it's becoming an animated series, and it's got voices like Matt Mercer and Phil Lamar, and I think Jim Cummings is in it, and like Tara Strong is in it. Amazing people working on this. And they've started another Kickstarter, and I believe one of the things you can buy in there, if you donate a certain amount, is classes with Phil Lamar on voice acting.
Ooh.
So not only would you be getting classes, but you'd also be helping an amazing animation project get its go and a full solid funding.
Well, fantastic, man. And I might be doing that because I'm a big Phil Lamar. You guys might remember him from such films as Pulp Fiction or Mad TV or the Green Lantern from the Justice League show and every other black character on Kids WB, from Static Shock to everybody else. Unlike Donald Glover, who I do plan on eating his heart and taking his power. So, but if you guys have any suggestions or any comments or anything like that, or suggestions for games, or just share your experiences with us that you don't want turning into a flame war in the argument panel down there, feel free, if you are so inclined, to hit us up at backinthedeck@gmail.com, or you can hit us up on the YouTube. Thank you guys for showing up today. And you can find a lot of our stuff on YouTube/BidP. That's little b, little I, little d, space p. Follow us on the Twitter @BackInTheDeck, or, as I always suggest, join the Deckers on the Book Facebook group. And if you guys, well, again, on Deckers on the Book, we like having discussions and arguments and suggestions on games. Hey, where's my music going?
Is apparently
I'm wondering.
shorter than you expected it to be.
No, actually, because it's coming right back around. So, now, for those of you guys that are a lot like me,
professionals.
yes, a professional would just have a longer song. Anyway, I got tired of playing the Casio. But for those of you guys that are a lot like us and who spend all damn day in traffic or have things to do like clean the house, feel free to listen to our archive on SoundCloud at SoundCloud/BidP. That's BID_P. And that has it has a huge amount of the stuff that we've recorded over the years. And you can download that and keep it with you to listen to it at the gym or while you're riding your bicycle for free. That is our gift to you all the time. Follow us on the Instagram at Instagram/BackInTheDeck, where you can see all of our little misadventures like building studios, making food for my mom, and all that stuff. Oh, we got somebody that's just coming up saying it ended so soon. Don't worry.
It's so soon, an hour and a half.
Yeah, we got you. But you know what?
You can really help us out here and help us fund if you want us on 8 hours a day.
Wow, man, that was some serious plugging there.
Yeah.
But what I'm gonna say on that little factor, thank you very much, is you can always hit us up on all of these things, and don't worry, Sarah, we got you. We're here. We're right here. But always, if you want to get a hold of the Bard,
you can reach me on Twitter at Bardic_DW. You can find me on Facebook at DW McCann DO. And you can find me on the Instagram, where you can also see a lot of my gameplays and strategy. They're going to become part of that nearly
That's right. And for those of you guys that are really looking for more friends in doing this, trust me, that is why we are here. You know what? I'm going to turn the music back on, and I'm going to remind people one more time that they can get a hold of us at Gmail or follow us on Deckers on the Book, because again, it breaks my heart that people are like, oh, it ended so soon. So follow us on Deckers on the Book or check out the archive. Matter of fact, in about 20 minutes, you'll be able to watch this entire thing that we filmed from beginning to end and check out some of those games. But with that, I'm going to say, if anybody has ever told you that you can't like what you like, games or fun and hobbies, if you like anything that doesn't hurt anybody, and people tell you that you can't be into that because of your race, religion, creed, gender, regardless of where on the spectrum your gender falls, whether or not you can walk or because you're too poor and you need to learn how to farm potatoes, you tell them to take those cards and put them back in the deck. This is Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer, along with
D.W. McCann.
And this has been Table Talk. So thank you guys, and we will see you guys next time.